Well, we are entering a brave new world, a bizarre new frontier of having to survive daily exposure to what I call vaccine fallout. And this is because the FDA is now approving mRNA flu shots. And as the fall approaches here, the media, the FDA, the drug companies, and, all their lackeys and pharma whores out there, the doctors, everybody, they're going to be pushing these shots like crazy to try to get everybody to take these. And if you know anything about the mRNA technology, you know it's a self-replicating technology that turns your body's cells into programmed bioweapons factories. That's how they work. In fact, let's review it just briefly here. So this is the mainstream medicine pharmaceutical explanation of how mRNA works, okay? This was true during the COVID jabs, the ones that were mRNA. And now it's true with this flu shot. And you can bet that they're going to expand this technology to other so-called vaccines, which are really not vaccines, in my opinion. They are bioweapons injections. But here's how the establishment says they work. So they take, now this is a simplification, of course, but it's mRNA, which is a blueprint of instructions for protein synthesis. It's a sequence of instructions, and they wrap it in a lipid nanoparticle so that it looks like a nutrient to your body's cells. And they take essentially billions of these, put them in a needle, inject it into your arm, let's say. And then it begins to circulate through your entire body. And then it tricks your cells into taking in the lipid nanoparticle with the mRNA payload inside. It tricks it by, pretending to be a nutrient, a lipid, obviously. So your cell membrane, essentially allows it to come in. It enters the cell cytoplasm. And there it finds its way. It sort of unpacks the payload and it finds its way to the ribosomes of your cells. And the ribosomes are the protein synthesis components of your cells. Now, your cell ribosomes are normally making human proteins, things that you need. Lots of things in your body are synthesized by ribosomes. When we say the word protein, you may not realize that's a vast array of molecules of certain shapes and sizes, including certain hormones, etc. But you're supposed to be making human proteins using human instructions. And what the mRNA does is it hijacks that process and replaces your human protein synthesis with alien protein synthesis. By alien, I just mean non-human. In other words, outside the body. And in the case of the COVID vaccines, it was hijacking your body cells to manufacture spike protein toxins, which are, of course, not human. And those were then produced by people's bodies in huge numbers, billions of these particles, floating around their body, causing death in some cases, causing clots, causing organ failure, causing all kinds of neurological problems, cardiovascular problems, fertility problems, you name it. And then in some people, that persisted for many years, and that's called long COVID. It's not long COVID, it's the long-term persistence of the alien proteins that are synthesized from the mRNA instructions that hijack your body's cells. So that's how that works. And the thing is, each mRNA instruction strand is supposed to be consumed as it is, let's say, transcribed into the protein that it's supposed to create. So the blueprints are used up as it's making the proteins. But there's some interesting science where they're not always used up. Sometimes they stick around longer than intended. I'm not going to get into all that today. But there are other studies that have shown that somehow, in a way that seems to defy mainstream biochemistry, somehow these mRNA instructions can, well, this is rare, but they can enter the cell nucleus, not just the ribosomes. And there they can exchange some translated genetic information, even though RNA is not the same as DNA. But your DNA is coded to create RNA all the time, which is how your DNA tells your body what to make with your ribosomes. But anyway, sometimes, rarely, that happens in reverse. This is kind of interesting. And that can cause then these instructions to overwrite or sections of your chromosomes. Now, I don't have time to go into that right here, and that's something that mainstream biochemists would say, well, that never happens. But it does happen, actually. It does happen. And when that happens, then those people have basically gene therapy, a genetic alteration that permanently alters the genetic code of those cells, not all their cells, but the cells that are impacted by this. It would be a relatively small number of the total cells in their body. You have what, 37 trillion cells, I think, something on that order, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm not saying all 37 trillion are impacted like this, but some number are. And then when those cells divide through a process of normal, cellular division, mitosis, DNA polymerase replicating your DNA strands, then those instructions for making the spike protein toxin are also replicated. Then you have 2 cells doing it. And if those cells replicate, then you have 4 cells doing it, and so on. So this can persist in the body for a very long period of time. And that's why, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the research, that's why the spike protein, or at least the S1 portion of it, has been detected post-vaccine in the bodies of vaccinated people more than 700 days later. Yeah, I mean, almost 2 years. So what we're actually about to see with the mRNA flu shot injections, especially targeting elderly people, we're going to see the elderly people in America turned into biochemical weapons factories whose cells will produce alien protein toxins that are effectively engineered bioweapons, and they will shed those onto other people for a period of potentially many, many weeks, months, or even in some cases, up to a couple of years. So this is very different from anything we've ever faced before. For example, in more traditional vaccines, attenuated virus particles vaccines, which has been the standard up until mRNA, they would say, let's say for chicken pox, varicella vaccines, there are instructions in the insert sheet that say if you take this vaccine, you should not be around any other people who are immune compromised for some period of time. I forgot if it says 3 days or 5 days or 7 days or something like that. And the vaccine insert sheet explains why. It explains because you will be shedding varicella virus onto these other people, which, of course, I use the term virus because I'm talking in the language of mainstream medicine. But you and I know we're talking about shedding, toxins onto other people. And those toxins can have tremendously damaging impacts, even if they're not viruses. So those toxins can do things like they can suppress DNA repair. They can cause someone to be unable to correct lesions in their genetic code, which would cause runaway turbo cancer, or it can cause neuroinflammation, or it can cause cardiovascular problems, including blood clotting, or a long list of other problems. So again, to back up, when this mRNA flu shot is heavily pushed onto the population, you're going to have especially elderly people are going to be walking around. They're going to be shedding bioweapons on the people around them in the nursing home, at church, at the dinner party, wherever they go, at the grocery store, whatever. They're going to be shedding all these bioweapons on people around them. And that shedding could continue for up to as long as 2 years in some cases. So that's something, I mean, that's a level of a walking biological weapon that the vaccine industry has never been able to achieve before. Because, of course, it's a depopulation agenda that the FDA is pushing and the governments are pushing and the globalists are pushing. And they finally figured out a way. And by the way, there are very specific biochemical strategies that they've used to make these lipid nanoparticles protected and to last longer. For example, lipid polymer hybrid nanoparticles, LPHNs. That's one strategy that they've come up with, which is they use different polymers, in the lipid nanoparticles, and they're able to make it last longer in the body. They're able to keep the mRNA viable and intact much longer and protect more of those strands from being destroyed for whatever reason. So what I did in preparation for this little presentation here, I had my AI agents go out and research the existing published medical literature. Peer-reviewed journals, like mainstream journals used by, big pharma, whatever. And to research how long does the mRNA material persist in a person's body following a vaccine? That's one question. And then for how long do the intact spike protein toxins exist in blood plasma circulating throughout the body? What's that duration? And then another question, how long do spike protein fragments exist in blood? Because that's even longer. And those fragments can also be pathogenic in their own ways. How long do spike protein toxins exist in cellular exosomes, which can contribute to shedding onto other people, by the way? And then what about the S1 component of the spike protein? And you may recall the S1 is the subunit, and it's a very dangerous subunit. That's what the S stands for. And this is the one that binds to ACE2 receptors and causes all kinds of problems in your body, including systemic inflammation, etc. How long does the S1 spike portion, how long does this persist in the immune system? And then how long does the S1 subunit persist in blood plasma? Okay, so I didn't know the answers to all of these timelines, so you probably don't either, I'm guessing, unless you just did the research. But I'm going to share it for you here, break it down. So when we understand this technology better, then we know what we're going to be facing with mRNA flu shots and why this is to say a crime against humanity doesn't even really encapsulate this. This is vaccine fallout. This is a biological weapon deployed against people through people. So this is a depopulation, well, let's call it a socially spread depopulation weapon. So anybody who takes the mRNA jab, if they are around anybody else for these extended periods of time that we're about to cover here, they can then, let's say, infect, but that's not the right word. They can expose other people to these various toxins. Could be a fully intact spike protein, could be spike fragments that are pathogenic, could be the S1 spike subunit, which is also pathogenic. And on the long side of this, it can be up to 700 days. So you're probably figuring out how catastrophic this is going to be for humanity. But let's go through the numbers. So when somebody is vaccinated, that's not even the right term. Man, they trick us into using their language, don't they? When somebody is injected with an mRNA bioweapons payload, that's the accurate statement. That mRNA can stay intact in their tissues for about 30 to 60 days is what is generally reflected in the medical literature. Now, what's interesting is that in that form, in the mRNA form, that's not dangerous to other people. That's just the potential to manufacture, these bioweapons inside the body of the person who took the injection. So anyway, in that form, not dangerous to someone else. But starting within just hours after the injection, some of those mRNA payloads begin to hijack the ribosomes. They go through the cell walls and into the cytoplasm. They rewrite the protein synthesis instructions, and they begin churning out alien protein toxins. That begins within hours, some number of hours, depends on the person. And then that process continues up to about 60 days. So during that entire timeline, the person is becoming infested with these alien toxins that are being produced and released into their blood in larger and larger numbers, achieving higher concentrations in plasma, which is what contributes to shedding, by the way. And then over the next few days, typically, various pathways of shedding, which we can cover in another podcast, are then causing these to exit their bodies and to be shed onto other people, what I call vaccine fallout. But anyway, the mRNA itself typically only lasts about 30 to 60 days, although there are some technologies that the vaccine companies are using to try to extend that, because they really want grandma to kill a bunch of other people for a much longer period of time, it seems. So what about the full-length spike protein, or the spike toxin, in blood plasma? How long does that last? And according to mainstream studies, that lasts about a month in a healthy person. Well, formerly healthy person, because now they took the spike protein jabs. But formerly healthy person, about a month, okay? At that point, the spike protein, or even along the way, it begins to break down. Part of that is because it's sort of unleashing its payload. It's causing damage to the body's organs and systems, and in doing so, it is becoming denatured itself in that process. A lot of biochemical reactions. There are some immune reactions. There are some, inflammation reactions, etc. A lot of mechanisms at work here. But overall, it starts to break down. So if you then ask the question, well, how long do these spike fragments last in the blood? That answer is 6 months. And again, that's according to peer-reviewed mainstream medical literature. 6 months, about 6 months. And there are different fragments. Again, I don't have time to go into all of them. You can look it up. A lot of different fragments, common little breakdown packages from the spike protein. Some of those packages are extremely toxic and others are relatively harmless. So it starts to break down over 6 months. During this time, the person who was injected with all of this is shedding now these fragments. And the fragments, because of their smaller size, in some ways they can shed much more easily going outside the body. So I think that eventually one day the research is going to show that this phase is the most dangerous phase of spreading the toxins to others. It's these fragments that persist for about 6 months. Now, the spike protein is also found in exosomes of cells, that is the debris of cells, formerly cell membrane material and other material. It's found in that material for about up to 4 months, according to the mainstream literature. Now then, what about the S1 spike, the subunit, as we say? This is being found in the immune system in monocytes up to 8 months later. And then in plasma, it's being found up to 700 days later. Now, in order to more effectively trick your body into accepting these alien protein instructions as seemingly normal, the vaccine companies have come up with a number of biochemical stealth methodologies, basically weapon delivery systems. One of those is to use what's called PEG, or polyethylene glycol. This is a polymer, as you might suspect, that is conjugated to the lipids. It stabilizes the mRNA instructions, and it's designed to prolong circulation time in the body. So they want that to stick around as long as possible so that your body will, open up and use it and start manufacturing the protein toxin bioweapons. However, some people have rather acute immune systems that are triggered by PEG. And in those individuals, then there is a more rapid blood clearance of these lipid nanoparticles, which, of course, may save their life from, the payloads. So what the vaccine companies are doing is they've come up with these next generation PEG substitutes that are called things like polyglycerol or PG, or 2-ethyl-2-oxazoline, maybe that's how you pronounce that. POX is the way it's literally called POX, okay? And these two different chemical alternatives, the goal is to stabilize the mRNA, stealth lipid nanoparticle, to force it into your body's cells and basically to make the stealth delivery just work better. And those technologies are effective. I mean, again, they're declaring war on your body with this. There are other strategies that vaccine companies have used to reduce the polyethylene glycol content, so that it doesn't flag the immune response in some people whose bodies are noticing the PEG toxin. So they found that if they can lower PEG, which they call pegylation, or the reduction of PEG, pegylation, at least that's the way I'm pronouncing it, they can take it down to 0.5% of the total mass of the lipid nanoparticle, instead of the normal 1.5%. And when they do that, then they get a 17.5 times higher expression of the enzyme luciferase, named after Lucifer, of course. Yeah, there you go. That's what you want, is 17 times more luciferase in your body. And then they get an 8 times higher expression up to 48 hours. And that's compared to using a 5% polyethylene glycol construction of the lipid nanoparticles. So they're trying to, reduce the PEG to trick your body into improving cellular uptake of the mRNA, so that the invasion of your cells with the mRNA can be more successful, so they can turn your body into a bioweapons factory, so that you can walk around for up to 2 years, basically dumping death toxins on the people around you. So this is how the drug industry and the FDA turned grandma into a Terminator. I'm serious, like a human, like a bioweapons Terminator. And it's all spread through social interaction. And this is all by design, because they want to turn people against people. See, they know that if they just unleash a bunch of robots for massive depopulation, and that's probably coming in the cleanup phase, but if they unleash a bunch of robots to go out and start just shooting everybody, there's going to be resistance, But if grandma is carrying the payload that might kill you, you're going to hug grandma, right? So this is what they know. They know that depopulation, they have to infiltrate, and they have to, in a sinister fashion, turn people against each other and exploit the natural human innate tendency for social interaction, hugging, close conversation, gatherings, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so the timing of this flu shot, in my view, it's very clear. They're going to be rolling this out to make sure they have very high saturation of the elderly before this coming Thanksgiving. And obviously that's before Christmas as well. So that way they want grandma and grandpa to be shedding all over the whole family, all over the turkey too, and the stuffing, Hey, you want some mRNA stuffing? Grandma coughed on the turkey, that kind of thing. If grandma's in the kitchen making the food, She's shedding all over Thanksgiving dinner, folks. Okay? Just think about that. And this is all by design. They're going to turn human nature against humanity to create weapons and have them spread by people who are basically surrogates for biochemical warfare against the human race. And the thing is, because of the psyops and because of the brainwashing and programming, these people, they don't even know they're weapons, do they? Grandma's not trying to kill you. She thought she was doing the right thing to go down to the pharmacy and, take the jab because that's what her doctor told her she needed to do. You don't want to get the flu, do you? Right? So, and of course, your grandma isn't listening to this podcast. So she doesn't know. It's not her fault. She's a good person. She has positive intentions. She's thinking that she's protecting you. Probably her doctor is telling her, oh, you got to take the jab before Thanksgiving because you don't want to get sick and expose your family during Thanksgiving dinner, do you? And grandma's like, no, and doctor says, well, you got to take the jab today to protect your family, right? Okay. But you see, it's exactly the opposite. It's actually, they're turning grandma into a biochemical weapon against her own family so that she is the vessel through which she attacks her own genetic lineage. You see how insidious that is, how evil, how demonic. Remember, it increases the expression of luciferase 17 times. Would you like a little luciferase on your turkey or on your beets? And, the thing is that if this mRNA technology for the flu shots is similar, which it is, it's almost exactly the same tech as the COVID jabs, then grandma is going to be shedding through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. She's going to still be shedding on you come Valentine's Day and Easter of next year. And all, probably all through Mother's Day and everything else. So they can turn a family member into a weapon, a long duration weapon, an emitter of biochemical weapons intended for depopulation, sickness and disease, and ultimately depopulation. At least that's my assessment of what this is all about. And that can last for a very long period of time. Now, you'll also hear in the media, they're talking about herd immunity. Like we have to get, 60 to 70% of the elderly injected. That's all by design because they know that if they can get to that level, which may be difficult since fewer people trust the jabs anymore, but if they can get to 60 or 70% in a specific environment like a nursing home, then they know they can achieve overall vaccine fallout exposure saturation of other people at a rate of something like 95%, maybe even higher, depending on the number of interactions. So this is about maximizing the shedding exposure onto the unvaccinated, because the vaccine industry and the FDA and the CDC, they are pissed off at the unvaccinated. They're very angry that people like you and I said no. And this technology is designed to overcome that objection by exposing you to the biochemical toxins and weapons against your will, against your consent, and against your knowledge. And we have learned in the last week that especially the blue states were working on quarantine camps. I mean, some built quarantine camps, which of course would be death camps, and that the federal government was initially, different elements of the government, the FDA in particular, the CDC, they were planning on calling for nationwide mandatory quarantines of the unvaccinated. This was all part of the plan. They weren't able to carry it out that far thanks to people like you and I who pushed back and called them out on their bullshit. But if we had not pushed back, they were literally going to round up unvaccinated people. They were going to call them a threat to public health, and they were going to throw them into the quarantine camps. Now, of course, it's a complete inversion of reality, because what we saw with COVID jabs and now with the mRNA flu shots is that quite literally the people who are taking the jabs, i.e. the vaccinated, those are the ones who need to be isolated because they are the ones shedding on everybody else. And I'm not calling for rounding them up at gunpoint, by the way. So, don't take it that way. But I'm saying using the logic of what was used against the unvaccinated, if you apply that same logic, then the mRNA jabbed people should be rounded up and put into the quarantine camps because they literally are a danger to the people around them because they're shedding, because they're vaccine fallout, spreaders. Let's use the term. They're the super spreaders. Remember that term? That term was applied to the unvaccinated back in 2021 and 22, etc. Oh, you're a super spreader, because you were unvaccinated. But of course, the COVID vaccines, it turns out, never prevented transmission, never prevented infection, did not work, but they did work at shedding, which was the whole exercise. Really, it was a PSYOP, it was an obedience test, it was an IQ test, and it was a medical technology test to see if they could get away with turning human beings into shedders or super spreaders of vaccine fallout who would spread those toxins onto the people around them and kill their own loved ones without even knowing it. And the answer they found out was, yes, people will go along with this, especially Democrats for some reason too. I don't know if it's something about the neurological wiring of Democrats where they just love to be obedient sheeple or something. They still love Fauci to this day. And I found it very strange that in the LGBT community, which you would think would be more kind of do your own thing, but actually they had a 96% vaccine compliance rate, which just strikes me as the complete opposite of what you would expect. I'm like, if you have transgender surgery, you got weird piercings and everything, tattoos and like red, blue, rainbow hair and everything. It's like, aren't you supposed to be rebellious? I mean, aren't you rebelling against everything? Even biology? Why would you go along with Fauci? Why would you go along with, the obedience demanding system? Like, it's the most conformist thing possible. I always found that odd. Transgender's like, I'm going to cut off my balls and I'm going to become a woman and I'm going to, use women's restrooms and yell at people and tell them to call me ma'am. And I'm going to get, breast implants and this and that. But I'm going to go right along with whatever they tell me to do with the jabs. To me, that never made sense. It's like, it's just inconsistent, It's like, if you're going to be a rebel, just be a rebel all the way, Don't stop with the needles. Like, but we have to be obedient to this thing. That never made sense to me. But then again, I've never walked in their shoes because I can't wear high heels. So I don't know. But anyway, so this whole discussion may remind you, I covered this earlier, about the self-replicating vaccine technology research that was underway under the apartheid regime in South Africa in the 1990s. And although that research effort did not succeed at that time, the entire program was designed to create an ethnic cleansing weapon to target blacks. And they were going to spread it around as a public health campaign. They were going to call it a vaccine. They were going to say, well, it's good. It's for your health. It's for your protection because we care about you. We're apartheid and we love black people. We just want to help you with these injections, line up. Right? It's like totally not believable. And the idea was that black people who took those jabs would then become walking biochemical weapons to shed payloads, replicating payloads onto other black people who themselves would eventually succumb to the toxins. But before they did, they would spread payloads to yet to other black people. And it would spread generation to generation to generation. So what apartheid wanted to do is use black people against other black people by relying on the fact that people socialize with their own family members and their own brothers and sisters or their own friends, or in some cases, well, especially in a divided regime like apartheid, South Africa, people tend to socialize with their own kind, right? So they knew, the apartheid scientists, the mad scientists, they knew that if they push this vaccine onto black people, then all they had to do was like not be around them for a few months. And the black people would spread it and they would kill each other and they would all die off. And then the apartheid regime would say, well, this is why you need more vaccines, because look at all the people dying from a sickness. There's obviously a pandemic going around, and they would use that as a fear campaign to get more blacks to line up for more vaccines. And we're here to help you, you know? So that blueprint is exactly what's going to be rolled out against you, regardless of your skin color, regardless of your ethnicity. So what's going to happen is, as the mRNA flu shot starts to kill off grandma and her family members, you're going to see in the media, oh my God, there's a flu outbreak, or whatever they want to call it. It doesn't matter. They could call it Zika. They could call it Ebola. They could call it Zikabola. You know, they could call it anything they want. It doesn't, they're making it all up anyway. It's actually just people dying from the injections and from the shedding, but they'll call it the flu or whatever. And they'll say, look, more and more people are getting sick. We have to really aggressively push the mRNA vaccine this flu season to protect more people because the sickness is spreading. And sure enough, sort of the low IQ, gullible people out there will line up and say, you know, protect me, daddy. You know, I need more protection from the government. And they'll line up and get injected, and then they'll start being super spreaders and shedding on everybody and falling out with their bioweapons all over everything. And, you know, the elderly don't shower that much, you know? They don't. I don't know if you've ever visited, like maybe you have a parent in a nursing home. It's usually not a daily shower situation, you know? So the spike protein or whatever, you know, shedding weapon can really build up on the skin, in the clothing, around a person, on their hands, on their face. And so when they're hugging, or when they're working with food, or when they're, you know, touching something and handing you something, whatever, there can be a very high concentration of toxins. And those toxins can also be, of course, affecting the person who's been injected. And sometimes those people just die from it. When they don't die, then they can, of course, you know, expose and potentially kill other people around them who may have higher levels of sensitivity to some of those, you know, fragments and particles and so on. So the point is, this is like an apartheid ethnic cleansing weapon, and it's designed to exterminate, in my view, this is my conclusion based on my research, this is designed to exterminate large groups of humanity by exploiting the social interaction natural tendencies, the innate desire for social acceptance and closeness that exists in humans. So they are turning our humanity against us. And in doing so, they are forcing informed people to practice some level of self-isolation, which is also damaging to society, because there may be people who very reasonably listen to this and who decide, well, I just can't go to church like forever, because I know that there's a bunch of women usually, but sometimes men in church who are definitely going to go get vaccinated with this mRNA. So then they're going to turn your church into a giant, you know, antichrist shedding, you know, meeting place, right? And there may be people who decide, just quite rationally, by the way, like, I don't want to be exposed to that. There may be other people who say, well, I really want to go to church. I'll just sit farther away from those people, or like Martha, because I know Martha's definitely going to get jabbed. She's always bragging about jabs. She loves Fauci. Not going to sit next to Martha, you know. And then some people will say, well, I'm going to go to church, but I'm going to take, you know, I'm going to take like foreign protein cleanse. I'm going to do like nicotine patches. I'm going to take ivermectin. I'm going to take quercetin and zinc. And I'm going to do all these nutritive protection strategies, which is probably going to be necessary for all of us for the rest of our lives. We are going to have to, well, even like Toby Rogers on X, he was saying, the rest of us are going to have to take an mRNA vaccine injury treatment protocol prophylactically. And he's absolutely correct about that. You are going to have to nutritionally prevent biochemical weapons from killing you every single day. You're going to have to use nutrition to boost your immune function, but also to boost your DNA repair, which of course that's a course that I'm working on right now. I'll have that released for free within a few weeks. That will help you tremendously in all of this. But you're also going to have to protect your body from shedders. And it's going to be difficult because you can't even explain this to most of the people who are the shedders or the super spreaders. Number one, they won't believe you. And number two, people who take these jabs, they always find a reason to justify it for themselves. And of course, they trusted the science already. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten jabbed. So they're gone. They're already gone. Your best bet is to completely avoid them. Stay as far away as you can. Don't share objects and food and whatever with them, at least for some period of time. And just watch. There's going to be a lot of other people around them that are probably going to get sick. Just watch this coming, winter, the so-called flu season, and also into the spring of 2027. You're going to see a wave of sickness, which will, of course, be transformed into turbo cancers and immune system collapse next year and the year beyond that, and so on. Because it's very predictable what happens to your body, to your immune system, to your genetic integrity, and so on, when you get assaulted, repeatedly exposed, and insulted by these biochemical weapons. So that's where we are. I mean, what a bizarre chapter in human history, right? So, and this is going to be tough, because you're going to have to move through society in a way that requires you to minimize your exposure to other people. So you may have to change the hours during which you go grocery shopping. You might have to shop late at night when it's not so crowded. And, I'm not saying that you want to wear a mask everywhere, because I'm not into the masking. And I'm not saying you got to put on latex gloves and walk around in a giant inflatable bubble, to buy watermelon. But you might not want to just be touching on everything all the time, like other people, like the shopping cart that somebody just used. It's probably not a bad idea to use some chlorine dioxide on that shopping cart. The handle, which is usually filthy and usually contains some amount of children's feces anyway. So you might want to just scrub that sucker down. That's all I'm saying. Hand washing is going to be important here. And it's not about protecting yourself from the flu. It's about protecting yourself from the vaccine super spreaders, the shedders. That's what it's about now. You see how this has shifted dramatically? The flu is no threat at all. I'm not afraid of the flu. First of all, the whole theory of virology is largely rooted in complete nonsense anyway. So, I'm not afraid of just some circulating influenza. I know about vitamin D and zinc and quercetin and selenium and whatever. That's easy to deal with. What my body has never seen before are these engineered freaking spike toxins that are totally alien to the human body, that are engineered by men to build weapon systems for human extermination. Those are the things that are dangerous. Fortunately, chlorine dioxide also eliminates those things. Chlorine dioxide just completely rips apart, spike protein, obviously. I think we have a link. Let me check this. Oh, yeah. Good. I'm glad it's there. If you go to rangerdeals.com and you scroll down, on the bottom right side is a link to safrax.com, SAFRAX. Now, Safrax is amazing. They offer, tablets that you put in water to create a chlorine dioxide solution. And I'm not telling you to drink this. What I'm saying is this is for surface sanitizing and destroying basically biotoxins. Okay. And it works. It works very well. And I know that for a time they weren't able to ship this into the United States, but I think that's been resolved, I think. So you can go there, check out their site. They gave us a discount code also. I think if you use discount code Ranger, you might save a little bit on those. And they have different products there, like heavy duty odor removal, or a pool and spa water treatment, or a Dyson ClO2 all-purpose instant chlorine dioxide. I'm just here to tell you, they're all the same thing. It's just packaged differently. So if you have to buy it as a pool and spa treatment, go for it. You know, maybe to get it into your country if you're listening from Canada or whatever. If you have to buy it as a pool treatment or a spa treatment, do it. It's the same stuff. It's just packaged usually in different quantities, like different sizes of tablets, you know. So this is very powerful. Okay, this is going to be a key defense mechanism against spike shedding. And also, you know, sunlight. Sunlight is a sanitizer, but chlorine dioxide works far faster. Just, you know, follow the instructions on this product. When you make chlorine dioxide by dropping a tablet into water, it does make chlorine gas that goes into solution in the water, which is why the water turns kind of a yellow color. That's totally normal. That's what you want. You want the chlorine dioxide in the water, but you don't want to put your face over the top of that and inhale, because that's not good for your lungs, obviously, to breathe in, you know, chlorine gas. So follow the instructions, be safe about it, you know, do research if you have questions about it. You can put this in a spray bottle. You can use it in water storage tanks. You can use it in like watering troughs. I use it in a dishwasher, like for automatic dishes. You can use it in pools or spas. People use it in agriculture for hydroponic systems, but you know, you want to be careful. You don't want to harm plant roots and things like that. So make sure you know what you're doing. You can make sprays that kill mold and, you know, fungi and all kinds of things. Odors, you know, it's really great for odors, eliminating, you know, like smoke odors or urine odors in a car. If you had a neighbor that peed all inside your car for some reason, you can use this. Like, first of all, lock your car, but this will work. So that's a little bit of the information you need to know. Now, I am, of course, offering a free online course coming up in a few weeks that will teach you the nutritional secrets for protecting your DNA, for enhancing your chromosomal repair mechanisms to more rapidly and completely heal DNA lesions, including translocations, single-strand breaks, double-strand breaks, deaminations, oxidations, alkylations, all kinds of designations, all kinds of things that happen to your chromosomes, which is totally normal, by the way. You know, chromosomes have errors all the time, every day, like billions of times a day across your cells. You can normally repair those things, but not in the presence of spike protein, which suppresses those repair mechanisms by up to 90%, according to published research. So what I give you in my course, which is free, by the way, is the nutritional strategies that will help you big time. It will help you, number one, prevent DNA lesions by preventing oxidations. It even protects you from the peroxynitrite production caused by exposure to 5G cell towers and other EMF electropollution. I can show you how to shut that down instantly. Just boom. So you're not even getting the DNA lesions. And then secondly, I can show you how to rapidly augment your DNA repair mechanisms, all of them. You know, the base excision repair, the nucleotide excision repair, you know, whatever, NHEJ, you name it, all the repair mechanisms. They require certain nutrients. They require certain trace mineral coenzymes. They require certain proteins. They require cellular energy. You have to support cellular energy. You got to know how to do that, you know, NAD plus and ATP and all that. So I cover that in great detail in the course. I wish I had it all done for you today, but I don't. So that's going to come out soon, and it will help protect you against whatever spike weapons all these mRNA concoctions are going to be unleashing upon us through everybody's grandmas. Or I keep using the term grandma, but it could be grandpa too. It doesn't even have to be grandma or grandpa. It could just be anybody, frankly. but they're targeting the elderly, which is why I use that. So that course is going to come out soon. The best way to stay informed about that is, join my email list, naturalnews.com. Just sign up there to be alerted. You can also watch my videos at brightvideos.com, and my interviews are there as well. And what else? Oh, yeah, you can follow me on X. I'm Health Ranger. But in case I get banned on X, which could happen any given day, you can find me on brighteon.social, where I'm also Health Ranger, or brighteon.io, where I'm also Health Ranger. So you don't have to panic. You just have to be informed and be prepared and protect yourself. That's all. Very straightforward, actually. So I'm not blackpilling, at least in my mind. I'm not blackpilling. I'm real pilling. I'm giving you a realistic view of what's happening and then showing you how to defend yourself against it. The best thing is to not be around mRNA jabbed people, because they are walking bioweapons factories at a cellular level. They're probably also, not that well informed and not that smart if they're still, come on, who's still taking mRNA jabs? Somebody who's just very low on the IQ scale at this point. So probably not the kind of people you want to hang out with anyway, but definitely keep your distance from those people. And if your job requires you to take a flu shot, freaking quit your job, man. What are you waiting for? Do something better. There's another opportunity waiting for you that won't subject you to maybe killing yourself and the loved ones around you. I remember during COVID, I was like, well, I had to take the jab, otherwise they're going to fire me. So let them fire you. You're talking about your life here. Is your job more important than your life? And, some people are like, oh, but I want my job. And now they're dead. So they made a choice. They chose the job over their life and they lost their life. Now they're dead. And unfortunately, they can't tell us about that because their skeletons are full of dirt or whatever. They're no longer living. So don't be that person. If somebody's trying to force you to take a flu jab that's mRNA, it's like, are you kidding me? For one thing, if you were absolutely forced and you had no choice, if you were forced to take a flu shot, you could take a non-mRNA flu shot. That would be better. It's still toxic. It still kills people, but it would be a lot less dangerous than taking the mRNA version. At least you wouldn't be a walking bioweapon, potentially killing other people around you for the next, 8 months or whatever. So that's an option. Or you could just tell your boss to take this job and shove it. Go get a better job, Go get a job where your employer isn't trying to get you killed all day, every day. Whatever. People have their own priorities, make their own decisions. But if you told me, like, the only way you can keep this job is to, risk your life and risk the life of others by getting injected with these highly experimental biochemical weapon systems with stealth lipid nanoparticles designed to trick your cells into accepting in these hijacking instructions to overtake your protein synthesis to produce alien proteins that might kill the people around you, I would say, yeah, I quit, motherfucker. I'm out of here. That's it. Why is this a hard decision for people? I don't know. I'd be out of there. Yeah, not only take this job and shove it, take this jab and shove it. Shitbag, I'm sorry about the profanity, but these vaccine pushers really deserve to be treated with incredible disrespect because they are a danger to humanity. They are a danger to everybody else. They are responsible for the deaths of millions of people. And apparently they're not satisfied with that because they want to kill millions more, maybe billions more, it seems. They're all into depopulation too. They love that stuff, man. So you're going to depopulate the planet. Well, why don't you start by you depopulating? You know what I mean? You want the planet to have fewer people. What are you waiting for? You could achieve like a -1 in minutes, all on your own. You don't even need my instructions. Just, I don't know, Google that, I have no respect for people who are trying to convince others to commit medical suicide, obviously. And, if people want the planet to be free from humans, they can start with themselves, as far as I'm concerned. Very simple. All right. So anyway, there you go. Bottom line, just say no to all mRNA. Try to educate as many people around you as you can. Everything I've told you here, you can verify in any competent AI engine, but you have to avoid the US engines because they're all biased in favor of pharma. So you either have to use my free AI engine, which is called brightanswers.ai, or you have to use a Chinese engine like Kimi K3 or DeepSeek or Qwen or GLM or whatever. The Chinese engines are much more honest. They work far better. They'll give you honest answers on all of this. Everything I've told you here, except for what I asserted were opinion statements and so on, but all of the numbers I quoted, the mechanisms I quoted, these are all published science. You can confirm them. You can look them up in, again, any capable AI engine. And I encourage you to do that. Do your own research. If you found anything that I said here to be surprising, then I encourage you, look it up. Do your own research. Find out about this, because you need to know that. We all need to know this. This could save your life, and it could save the lives of people around you. So if you really care about your family, bottom line, don't put their lives at risk by getting an mRNA jab. If you care about your family, don't kill them by shedding on them. This shouldn't be a complicated concept. But it is for some, people will argue with that. And if you don't want to catch the flu, look, nutrition, vitamin D, zinc. Come on, this is so easy. I'm not afraid of the flu at all. You don't have to be afraid of the flu. Influenza is nothing. Just be a healthy person. You don't have to be afraid of the stuff floating around out there in nature. What you have to be afraid of or concerned with to defend yourself against is the weapons engineered by man that are actually designed to kill people. That's the stuff that's dangerous. And that's the stuff they want to inject into you. So think about that. Huh? All right. Well, thank you for listening again. I'm Mike Adams here, the Health Ranger, naturalnews.com, and also brightvideos.com. And say hi to Grandma for me on Thanksgiving. And hopefully she's pure blood. Hey, Grandma, thanks for being a pure blood. Yeah, now we can enjoy a nice family Thanksgiving together without shedding on each other. You should wear a t-shirt. Instead of saying don't tread on me, it should say don't shed on me. And it had like a, what is that, the Gadsden flag or something? I think that's what that is based on. But you should just change it up. Don't shed on me. Perfect. All right. Thanks for listening. Take care. Okay. A quick comment here about this huge court decision involving the Second Amendment. Now, there was a lawsuit filed by, numerous parties. I think Palmetto State Armory was part of it. In fact, I know they were. Silencer Shop was part of it. And I'm a customer of Silencer Shop, by the way, because I've purchased silencers, or suppressors, as we call them. The Gun Owners of America is part of it, etc. It was all combined into one court case challenging the ATF and saying that the ATF had no right to assert a power to require tracking and documentation and filing of forms over suppressors and short-barreled rifles, or SBRs, as they're called, because under the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, I believe this is how it worked, the tax stamp fee was removed. See, it used to be a $200 tax stamp fee to get a suppressor or to get an SBR. And then you had to wait for approval from the ATF, right? I've gone through this myself numerous times on suppressors because I own some suppressors. Not that I even have any time to use them anymore, but I own suppressors. So anyway, the lawsuit argued that since there's no tax now, that there's no authority for the ATF to require, the paperwork and the approval and the wait period time on this equipment. And guess what? It's a federal court in the Northern District of Texas, I think I have that right, that agreed with the plaintiffs and said, yep, there is no regulatory authority for the ATF to continue to require, this paperwork. And the court stayed its decision for a period of 7 days. And this happened just a couple of days ago. So the 7 days has not yet happened. But at the end of 7 days, apparently, unless this is challenged, which would take it to the Fifth Circuit, and the Fifth Circuit is very likely to agree with this court, in my view anyway, but unless it's challenged, then this law or this ruling goes into effect for all of those who are impacted, or let's say the customers of Silencer Shop, customers or members of the GOA, etc., customers of Palmetto State Armory. And I'm all three, so I'm definitely covered by this ruling, which means, now let me back up and say, I actually haven't had time to purchase any firearms for a couple of years. It's been kind of sad, actually, because I enjoy long range shooting. I enjoy the math of the ballistics and, the calculations of spin drift and, ballistic drop and wind and everything. To me, it's a really fun cognitive challenge. I'm not a hunter. I don't kill animals. I shoot steel targets, right? I've talked about this before. And so I appreciate high quality rifles and also self-defense. Obviously, I know how to run ARs. I know how to run AKs, not quite as well as the ARs, but, I'm very practiced and accomplished in, modern I and pistols and, Glocks and ARs and whatever. But I haven't been able to purchase anything for a couple of years. Well, I should say I just haven't made it a priority. Even though there's a lot of new stuff out there, I mean, the stuff I have works great. I'm happy with the stuff I have. I mean, I have the trigger just right, I have the optics just right. I have everything sighted in, super happy with the stuff I have. I know how to run it. So I just haven't bought anything. Well, other than suppressors, I should say, I did buy a batch of suppressors because I was trying to replace my old suppressors. What were they? Advanced armament suppressors, which were quite heavy. I'm trying to replace them with titanium suppressors from Dead Air. And so I did buy a group of Dead Air suppressors. I don't know, what was it, like a year ago or something. And they're awesome. They're very light, but they're just sitting there in the box. I haven't even had time to use them, which is crazy. I've been busy vibe coding. I've been building AI platforms and stuff. Okay. And to me, that's really exciting stuff anyway. So I just haven't had time. But if this ruling sticks, guess what? I'm going to go on an SBR shopping spree. I got to make up for lost time. I haven't bought any rifles for a couple of years. Geez, I'm way behind for a Texan. You can't go 2 years without buying a gun in Texas, for God's sake. That might yank my Texas citizenship if I don't stock up on a few rifles here soon. So that's my plan. And it's also a way to reward the gun industry and Silencer Shop, etc., who are working very hard and spending a lot of money filing these lawsuits, paying the lawyers, and working to protect our Second Amendment rights. And they deserve our support, frankly. And I know that not everybody listening, you're not a gun fan or a gun collector. Honestly, I'm not either. I'm just a practical person. I don't worship guns. I just use them. I don't worship solar panels. Okay? But I have a bunch of solar panels. Why? Because I love getting free energy from the sky. I have a bunch of guns. Do I worship guns? No. They are tools, practical tools. I live out in the country. I've got self-defense needs. I've got to deal with stuff that happens. I need a bunch of different calibers and rifles, different distances, different setups, one for day, one for night, obviously. I got like a night vision setup for self-defense versus a day rifle. I mean, these are different rifles. You need different rifles, just like you need more than one solar panel. So I'm not a gun worshiper, but I absolutely insist on asserting my Second Amendment right and supporting those companies and those organizations that also work to support our Second Amendment rights. So I actually feel like I should go out and buy guns just to support the gun industry, really. And that I should go out and buy a couple more suppressors to support Silencer Shop, etc. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. You're free to disagree. And some of you might live in countries or places where you can't own all this stuff. And I get it. I'm not advocating that you break your local laws at all. Do what's right for you and what is legal and safe for you. But I intend to go on a buying spree, honestly, if this becomes like active law. I'm going to buy SBRs, especially SBRs, short barrel rifles, where you don't have to have an arm brace on it. It's actually a regular stock on a short upper. And before now, those have been highly, highly regulated. And if you got caught with an SBR that, let's say you assembled yourself, which I have never done, but some people did that and they got caught and they got prosecuted. They went to jail for that, which is crazy. Well, that's why I didn't do that. I mean, I have arm brace pistols, sure, but I don't have any SBRs. That may change. So anyway, I just encourage you, if you feel the same way I do about this, to protect your Second Amendment rights, you have to exercise your Second Amendment rights. And if you want a firearms industry to exist, you need to support them. And if you want the gun owners of America to exist, support them. I'm not talking about the NRA. The NRA is just such a disappointment. GOA is so much better. And there are other groups. I've even interviewed, for example, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, JPFO. That's a group of Jews that are like, we need guns, And I think that every group, every American should have the right to self-defense and the right to access firearms, whether you're Jewish or not. That's not even the issue in my mind. Like, anybody that understands the dynamic of what's going on here should probably support the Second Amendment and should have firearms. That's my opinion. Whether Jews or Muslims or Christians or Hindus or whatever. I haven't seen a group, though, that's like Buddhists for firearms. I've never seen that group, but if there is that group, I definitely want to interview the Buddhist with an AR-15. I think that would be the ultimate integration of like spirituality and self-defense. It's like all things are connected. And I can hit anything that I can see. If it's a threat to the Buddhist temple or whatever, you know what I mean? If anybody needs self-defense, it's the Buddhists, right? Because they keep getting stomped on by governments around the world. Anyway, well, so do Christians. What am I saying? I guess all religious groups get attacked by governments. But anyway, thank you for listening. I will keep you posted. If this goes through and I go out and buy suppressors, I'll show you what I get. I'm a fan of Dead Air. That's the company name. In fact, that's all I'm buying, or that's all I bought recently. Dead Air suppressors. Their titanium models are really great, very lightweight, highly effective. Just make sure you understand, you can't put a small caliber suppressor on a high-powered rifle, even if the bullet is the same diameter. Like if you buy a suppressor for a 7.62 by 51 caliber, which in America we would call like a 308. You can't also just stick that can on the end of a 300 Win Mag rifle. It's going to break the can. So you need to know what you're buying and the power that it can handle, right? So just stay safe, stay informed. Thank you for listening. I'm Mike Adams. brightvideos.com is where you can find more of my videos, and also naturalnews.com. And thank you for listening. And hey, God bless the Second Amendment, huh? Use it or lose it. Take care.
What if your thoughts weren't actually your own? What if your desires, your choices, your actions were all a part of a script? What if we are being mind controlled?
You take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I know how that sounds. But stay with me, because what I'm about to share could explain everything. The depression, the anxiety, the emptiness, the disconnection that's become our new normal. That feeling that something's off, like no one's really present anymore. People avoid eye contact. They're glued to screens. Conversations are shallow, and genuine connection almost extinct. We are living in the most technologically connected era in history, and yet, most people have never felt so alone. Are we using our devices, or are they using us? Here's the scary part. The control doesn't stop with screens. It reaches deeper, into your subconscious. It's called subliminal messaging. Sub means under. Liminal means threshold. Subliminal literally means under your consciousness.
What were those?
Those are the hidden messages that are being broadcast on every TV and radio, and they're infecting our minds without us even knowing they're there.
Your brain notices what your eyes don't, and that biological fact has been weaponized. From product commercials to politics, movies to music, even children's cartoons.
At school, Elmo wears his mask and stays apart from his friends.
This has been happening for decades. From classic animations to entertainment we consume today, the effect has been the same. They bypass your conscious filters and plant seeds in your mind. Seeds of confusion, hypersexualization, and disconnection. And guess what happens when a generation grows up desensitized and overstimulated? They forget who they are. Every time you scroll TikTok and you see the same trend repeated thousands of times, every time you compare yourself to a filtered version of someone else's life, every time you buy something just because everyone else is, you give up a piece of your humanity. You allow the dimming of your inner light. And that is not a metaphor. It is a scientific fact that every cell in your body emits subtle light called biophotons, and that light distributes information throughout your body and then out into the world. And it illuminates your personal path that guides you into the life you came here to live.
If one only remembers to turn on the light.
Beyond physical appearance or trendy styles, your light is what makes you attractive. It is what determines your level of success. It is literally the thing we call charisma. Hollywood calls it the it factor. You know it when you see it, and you know it when you don't. Take a glance at a few before and after images of celebrities. Every time they said yes when they should have said no, they sacrificed a little of their light. Remember these words: darkness feeds on your light. And without the light, you can't see your path. Slowly, the world becomes dim. You stop thinking your own thoughts. You start living their plan. And without the light, you'll be lost in the dark. And maybe that's the point. Because a population that's distracted, disconnected, and demoralized is a population that's easier to control. But no matter how far you strayed from your path, your natural system is your default. It is always there, ready to be reactivated.
Assemble.
But reactivation requires discipline and willpower. If you want to build muscle, you have to lift weights. That's called resistance training. Well, there's another type of resistance training that builds more than muscle. This form builds mental strength, self-control, and good habits that lead to a good life. Every time you resist the temptation to spend your precious time consuming mindless entertainment or following low IQ trends, you get stronger. Your life gets better. Your light gets brighter. Suddenly, you can see your path. And for as long as you're alive, that light can be reignited no matter how dim or dark it gets. You are not a machine. You are not here to be programmed, drained, or used. You are here to live, to feel, to create, to connect, and to shine with a light that no algorithm can replicate. There is a reason that you are alive right here and now. We are the future. The world needs you. The darker it gets, the brighter we must shine.
Welcome to today's interview here on brightvideos.com. I'm Mike Adams, and today we are joined by two remarkable men, or one young man and one man my age. We're not the youngest anymore, but it's Mickey Willis and it's his son Azai. Welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you, Mike.
Did I get your name right?
Azai.
Azai.
Yeah.
How do you
Perfect.
spell it, just for our audience?
Azai. It's a bit of
Azai.
a difficult one to spell. Actually, people mess it up all the time.
I'm sure.
But yeah, you got it right, so thank you.
Okay. And the film that you are now launching, which is, I think it's your second film,
It is my second film, yes.
and you're not even, what, 15 years old?
Just turned 15.
And you already have 2 films.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. You're making us feel like we're not doing enough here. Tell us about the film, what it's called, and how people can find it. And then I've got questions for you.
Beautiful. All right, I made a short documentary called Shine, and it is about really waking up my generation. It's a message to my generation about how to shine your light and how to avoid the dark things that are trying to get us demoralized today. If that's what it is in simple, pretty much.
Yes. And where can people watch the film?
Oh, yes. So it hasn't been publicly released yet, or is it? What would you call it?
It's on my site at mickeywillis.com, MIKKI, but it hasn't been fully released yet. And so we plan on doing that. I think it's coming up here in August. We're doing that, yeah.
And when it's fully released, then where will people be able to see it at that
Everywhere.
point?
Yeah.
Like in theaters?
Yeah. No,
Everywhere.
except for theaters.
Not
no,
theaters,
it'll
but
be everywhere online.
Everywhere online?
Yeah, everywhere online.
Okay. Like Amazon Prime or what?
Everywhere free online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Social media platforms.
which has been one of the formulas that I've adapted to, particularly in 2020 when we released Plandemic 1, was to bypass the gatekeepers.
Right.
We can't be on paid platforms or any singular URL sites that they can just zap and take it down. So we give it away free to the people, and then that way it's decentralized and they can't stop it.
Okay. So this, and I know that you've used this model before with some of your previous bombshell films that were just game changers, like with Judy Mikovits, for example. This is a formula that you're sticking with?
It is. I'm working on a couple of for-profit projects right now, but I prefer the free profit, lack of profit, anti-profit movie because it can reach more people. And that's really what one of my prized possessions is an internal memo that was sent out by Google and then distributed by the New York Times, which was kind of an apology to big tech saying we tried really hard, everything we could do to stop this damn movie Plandemic, but it was in the hands of the people and there was nothing we could do about it. And so I'm going to frame that, put that in a gold frame because that's really the answer is decentralization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a show called Decentralized TV,
right.
which
you know
is
all about it.
All about
one
that.
Of the pioneers of that.
So, Azai, a lot of sons of successful fathers who are filmmakers, let's say, don't necessarily want to follow in their father's footsteps. I'm not saying that you are. You are your own person with your own ideas, but clearly you're in the same, or you're beginning in the same trade. Is that something that you've always felt passionate about, or why did you choose this path?
Well, to be honest, I was really inspired by you, Dad. Really inspired by the work that my dad was doing. And I was so inspired, watching him from when I was when did Plandemic come out? Like 2022?
2020.
2020.
So
Sorry, that's right.
you would have been 9.
But
I was making films before that, so you grew up around it.
I grew up around it, and just seeing how my dad was doing all this great work in the world, being a truth teller, and watching him grow inspired me to become a filmmaker as well.
Wow.
And so it wasn't just me falling in love with film. It was really seeing the effect that film can have on the world. And I wanted to do that too.
Wow. Like he gets it at such a young age, I
always tell him that, I'm like, son, you have no idea where I was at 15 years old. You're so far ahead of where I was. I can't imagine what's the future holds for this young man.
Well,
Dad.
With your observations, and thank you for sharing them with us, let me ask you about the other side of that, because, of course, people like your father and myself, and many of those who have been involved in your father's films have also been, ostracized by certain sectors of society or called dangerous because of our ideas or our words. How has that realization also impacted you and your desire to tell important, narrative film stories here?
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky to have my dad as my father because as he was going through the process of making Plandemic, he would actually coach me and tell me all the things that he was going through so that I can also take that knowledge into my life as well. And one of those things was, you know, I'm not sure exactly how you brought it up to me, but I remember you telling me about how you were, you know, what's the word? I forgot the word for it, but there's, you were kind of outcast from all the other filmmakers. Yeah. And you lost a lot of friends, and you said to me, the friends who will leave you just because of your opinion or something that you did out in the world, those aren't your true friends.
They're not your true
They're not your true friends.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so that I really took that on when I made my 2 other films. But to be honest with you, I actually didn't really have to take on that mindset at all, because my friends, when they saw me make these films, they were actually really supportive of me. You know, I'm really glad they are, because it just shows that we still have hope for our generation, that people are still wanting to try, you know, including all my friends. They all want to be better people. They want to try and strive to be, to grow, you know, as the youth.
There's something, I'm really glad you mentioned your generation.
Yes.
As you're using those terms. But what I'm really struck by is, at least my observations of your generation, is that people of your age and well into their 20s right now, and pardon my language, but I think your generation is really good at seeing through bullshit. Like there's so much bullshit in the world that a lot of people my age and older have accepted and lived with and kind of tolerated a lot of it, you know, in politics and medicine, in news and, you know, corporate media. But your generation, it seems to me, I mean, you correct me, you tell me if I'm wrong, seems that you're willing to ask big questions that need to be asked right now. What's your response to that?
I think you're totally right. And one of those examples is actually AI videos, which is kind of funny, because Zuri and I, my little brother, he's my best friend kind of, and he, not just kind of, he's like my best friend, but he and I will be like resting on the couch, and my dad will come out and he'll be like, check out this crazy video that I saw. And I'll be like, what video? And he'll show me. And Zuri and I are like, Dad, that's not real. That's totally AI. And so for some reason, I think being raised around all this new stuff is just kind of like, it just comes natural to us. We just kind of are able to see and tell that that's not real, you know, to be really able to call out people's bullshit, you know.
It's we go through this all the time. I've been looking at video for 35 years. And so I have a well-trained eye to see when things are off by a pixel.
Yeah.
But the AI fools me all the time. And,
Interesting.
And so I have to take it to my boys and I go, fake or real? And they know immediately. They'll play for a minute.
Wild.
Fake. And then I search and I go, oh, you're right. God, that almost got me. You know,
It just comes
what is it in
natural
this
for some
generation
reason.
that you guys can see something that almost the programming of me watching real video for 35 years becomes a detriment for me recognizing this new world.
Right.
It's really strange, but they're keyed in a way.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, but I want to dig a little deeper on my question for you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
And then we'll get back to your film. I know we want to talk about your film, but I'm just curious about what drives you. Because, yeah, you can see through like AI video, et cetera. But there's so much fakery in the world in terms of what we are told about money, about economics, about war, about peace. Like, war is peace. Like, the way to get to peace is to kill all the people. And then we'll, you know, these kinds of narratives, which are just wrong, but they're commonly accepted. My sense is that a lot of people your age, more than any other group right now, are willing to stand up and say, no, that's not okay. We don't kill our way to peace. We don't bomb our way to peace. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. I don't really have anything to say about that, but I just can say that I totally agree with you, and you're right.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not asking you to comment on any specific event in the world right now, but just the philosophy, you know, the overall philosophy, like kind of a pro-human, like a pro-compassion, dignity.
Why do you think your generation is keyed into rejecting things that other generations have for some reason bought into and allowed politics to drag us along into these wars? But I recognize what Mike recognizes, which is there's a large portion of your generation that sees the stuff, as Mike called, bullshit. They see it, and I think this actually relates to the work that you're doing around the frequency of music. because there's something where they're keyed into like almost vibrationally, like just feeling like, no, that's not right. And so I'm curious about that too. Like, I wonder what that is within your generation of why. Maybe it's because you guys grew up around the internet and you've seen so much trickery with all the memes and all that stuff.
I was going to say,
just keyed into.
If I were to give an opinion on this, I think it's really just the fact that we grew up around it. You know,
Yeah.
we've grown up on the internet, and we've just kind of come to be able to see all these kind of things. You know, I think
Right.
it's as simple as that.
I think that carries a lot of weight because, you know, like Mickey, you and I grew up when there was no internet when we were kids. When we did have cable, there was like 3 channels or whatever.
That's exactly right.
It was like 1 news station and 3 broadcast TV. You know, you didn't have choices, right? You didn't have alternatives.
No.
And today what both of you are doing represents the alternative and what I'm doing as well.
Yeah.
We are the alternative channel that was missing in the 1970s and 1980s.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And you're right. We always grew up with the maximum of 3 channels.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, when Mao Zedong activated his Cultural Revolution and the people weren't allowed to read other books, study other religions, and they had their 3 state-sponsored TV stations. For them, there was just that. There wasn't, we call it alternative now because it means we have a choice, or there's this.
Right.
They didn't have or this. It was just this. And so when that's all you have, that's all you do.
Yes.
And so this generation now has this, for better and for worse, a multitude of choices. And I think that can sometimes get very chaotic and confused, which is one of the many reasons that kids feel anxiety also, because there's so much coming at them, vying for their attention. But if they stay clean and follow the way that, you know, because what will, I'm sure, come up is a lot of his inspiration came from dealing with his own screen addiction. So his reaction to that was get myself straight and then help others get straight with that.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
But I think that's, you know, those who get straight with that and don't become, you know, the question I think for all these technological tools is, do we use them as a weapon or a tool?
Absolutely.
And if you use them as a tool, then they can really help you. If you allow them to become a weapon against yourself, they can destroy you.
Even AI is the same way. It can be a tool or a weapon.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally. All right. So back to your film, Azai. Let me ask you this question. Now, I'm only going to ask you this because you know, your father is a very accomplished filmmaker, and you are clearly very much more advanced in this than almost anybody your age, I would imagine. But I would say, like, sort of entry-level filmmakers ask themselves what they want to say. Mature, advanced filmmakers ask themselves, what do I want the audience to receive and or even to act? It's about what the audience does after they see the film. It's not about just spilling out information.
Yeah.
That's right.
So my question to you is, what do you hope the audience gets from watching your film, Shine?
Great.
I love that question. It's great. I hope that when my audience sees Shine, that they will be inspired to really make a difference in their life, but not just their own, in other people's as well. In other people as well. I really want, and I would really love if my generation, including me, would be able to learn how to shine their light, you know, not just, you know, sitting in their room all day scrolling on social media and just intaking information, but learning new skills and new abilities, because I realized not just, and it just comes down to like not realizing it too, but the realization that you being selfish enough to like just sit down and do absolutely nothing with your life affects others too. It affects your family, and it also affects the world as well. And so, because you're not making money for the economy, you're not doing anything to help others. And so it's not just, I want you to live a better life. It's also, we as a generation need to step up our game because we are the future. And we need to take the responsibility that we're going to fill, you know, the places of all the workers and the presidents and the every teacher, all of the schools. Like we're the future pretty much, you know. So we need to step up and realize that we need to take on that responsibility full strength.
And my generation has blessed your generation with $40 trillion in debt, by the way. So good luck with that one.
Sorry.
It's not my fault. Believe me, I didn't ask for that. So I love the name Shine because it implies that each person has a divine value, that each person's uniqueness, their individuality matters, their innovation and creativity matters. But my question to you is that those very philosophies run counter to what society very often demands of people, especially young people in public school. You're not supposed to be yourself.
No.
You're right. You're supposed to be obedient, in many contexts, right? Sometimes public school, sometimes medical school, whatever. So what are your thoughts on this idea that you're helping to inspire people to be themselves, which I fully support, and clearly Mickey does as well. But that's going to cause friction with elements of society that don't want people to be themselves.
Yeah. I'm sorry, reframe the question.
Well,
What
are your thoughts on that? I mean, eventually you're going to have friction with the establishment if you keep making films like this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's just like I was saying, when it does come to that, I'm going to have to realize that my true community isn't going to run away on me, or they're not going to just give up on me, right? And if they do, they're not my true friends, they're not my true community. And
Well said.
Yeah, sorry?
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think for other people, it's really difficult to come to terms with that, because today it's all about tribal mentality. It's especially across social media. Everyone wants to be a part of a team. Everyone wants to be a part of a tribe. And when you do something that's against that tribe in any way, you could get outcasted really fast. And the solution to that is realizing that if you're a part of a tribe or a team that is going to outcast you for something that is true or that you believe in, then that's not, a good team to be on.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, go ahead.
No, let me just add to what you were saying there. So what your father, Mickey, did was with the first film, Plandemic film, was one of the most courageous acts of filmmaking in the history of our country. And it was also extremely dangerous, right? So, I guess there's no courage unless there's also maybe some danger involved at some point. But that film awakened many, many people, and I think ultimately can be legitimately credited with saving many lives, by the way. But it brought the ire of the establishment. Yeah. But the reason I'm mentioning this, and then you can answer that, Mickey, is you held your ground on your principles, and now you are vindicated.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
But you had to endure literal years
Yes.
of being called a danger to society.
That's right. I was just having this conversation yesterday because there was a couple of doctors that were being praised online, and I had to kind of come out publicly and say, listen, I love what these doctors did initially. They spoke out, and then they backed off. And then as soon as the heat got too much, they went away. Let's really cast our praise upon those who didn't go silent.
Right.
Who were willing to risk it all. And I understand that there were a lot of people that were like, well, you never know what they might lose their practice or their homes, whatever. Of course, that's all a possibility. But I think what that demonstrates is a real lack in trust in God. Because when we have that trust in something much greater than us, then we know that if we're fighting for life, if we're fighting for the creation of life, and the truth shall set us free, if we understand those principles, we might lose a match, but we're not going to lose the battle. We might actually lose a home, but what we're going to gain in its place is so much more valuable. We might lose our practice, but how many doctors have you interviewed, have I interviewed, that did lose their position, but they're in a place right now and I've asked just about everyone that sat in my interview chair, do you regret speaking out? And I 100% have said, no, I just wish I would have done it sooner, louder, or in the beginning I did regret it because I wasn't prepared for the backlash. But where I sit now is I wouldn't trade it for anything. Because when you come out, at the end of the day, we're all living this life with 80 to 100 years on this beautiful planet that we call Earth. And at the end of it all, if we're not fulfilled in our journey, if we don't feel that we've accomplished what we came here to accomplish, no matter what material items we have, no matter what kind of status we have, how many stripes we have on our sleeves, at the end of the day, on our deathbed, we won't feel fulfilled because what we came here to do is incomplete. And so for me, it's living into that. And quite frankly, as a father, one of the things that really lit me up was the first thing that we did that kind of bucked the system was when we defended the Covington students, if you remember that scandal in 2019. And the reason I did it was because these young boys who were then my age of my son now, they were all about 15, were getting completely sacrificed in the media. It was a human sacrifice. And we went out to expose the kids because we bought the narrative. And as soon as we started researching, we realized these kids were set up just for political clout. And so we protected them and told the truth. And that was the first time I received death threats, that everyone came at me, all the one side that loved me. I always say when you're bonded by agreement, it's a very fragile relationship. Because as soon as I broke agreement, I went from being a hero to a zero, in a moment. And what that taught me was, what Azai is speaking into right now is the friends who went away because I protected the wrong people. To me, it wasn't about the people, it was about the truth, the principle.
Principles.
The principle.
Right.
And those people, I had a lot of people ask me, particularly when I started doing interviews in 2020, I bet you've lost a lot of friends, haven't you? And I always say, not one. I lost a lot of people I thought were my friends.
Yeah.
But what came in their place are really true friends. Now, I was in Hollywood for 30 plus years. I didn't realize that most of my friendships were just facades. There were people that wanted me to put them in a movie and the moment that I went against the Hollywood system, they went online and said, he went to the dark side. I no longer support him. Sorry for, ever having said anything good about this person. And I went, wow, really? None of them, no one called and said, what are you doing? Tell me what you know, because I trust you. They all had to virtue signal to the people.
Right.
And so, but now my life is surrounded by really true friends.
Yeah.
And we disagree all the time. We disagree all the time. I just got off of a 10-day vacation with RFK. And there are a lot of things I disagree with that he believes in, but that doesn't stop us from taking a vacation together.
Right.
From being friends.
Right.
And that's the way it should be.
This is a process of distillation.
Yeah.
To know who your true friends are.
That's right.
And also, I know, Azai, because you're very observant, you've observed this, that in the long run, sticking to your principles is the only strategy that will really get you the rewards you're seeking.
Yeah.
It's not about going after power or access. I hear people say, well, if you post that, you're never going to get invited again to the White House. I've been invited to the White House.
Yeah.
Multiple times. I've always said no, because I place zero value on being invited to the White House. I don't care. I place high value on principles, right? And I think that's what you're talking about in your film, is the principle of standing or sticking to your individuality.
Yeah.
What would you add to that for people who are interested in watching your film?
Yeah, I recently did this 5-day camp, and I got to learn from this incredible guy named Jeff Hoffman. Have you ever heard of him? No? He's a crazy entrepreneur. And one of the things that he told me that really stuck with me, he said, don't chase money, chase excellence, and the money will follow.
That's true, 100%.
And I believe that really if you chase, good principles and doing things that make a difference in the world, like excellence, then you don't have to worry about making tons of money, because you get all these offers to go places and to see things because of the things that you've done and that you've accomplished. For as an example, Jeff Hoffman, he went from having $17 in his bank account to becoming a multi-billionaire entrepreneur because he invented the kiosk for all airports. He invented the check-in kiosks.
Right.
And so he got invited after he made that kiosk. He got invited to all these places, and he got paid for all these things, even though he didn't actually go out and make a business. He just invented this thing, and people went. He attracted all of the attention and all of the money, and he did this for separate things as well. He had He made an organization to save children that were unhoused and that didn't have anywhere to go. And again, the money followed after that. And so when you're talking about, really gaining principles, I think you're spot on, because when you chase really being a good person and doing good things in the world, all the success follows.
100%. And don't move. I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. Okay, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Beautiful.
So I don't know what's in here, but here, have some more gold.
Thank you.
What are these?
Whoa.
You're now a professional
These are-
filmmaker. You
these
just
are
got
more
paid.
gold.
Oh my, whoa.
Little brother's going
what
to be,
Whoa.
I can
Yeah, now,
imagine.
of course, the requirement is that you can never become a clot for money where it stops with you. Okay?
Yes.
Clotting is bad.
Yeah.
So one of the spiritual secrets that I've always practiced is that you must be a conduit. And so you've noticed, like, actually, I think you received some gold that I gave
Yes.
some other people related to you like a month ago. I didn't know who those people were, but I keep a stack of gold bags here for this very purpose.
Whoa.
And it's to give it out. It's to circulate it. It's to distribute it.
Wait, you're actually giving me this?
Well, yeah, but you have to give it to others. Yeah.
What? Thank you. I thought it was like a metaphor or something.
No. Those are yours
Wow.
until
thank
you
so
decide what to
much.
do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Wow. This is going to my next film for sure.
Well,
Thank you.
but
You'll never forget this lesson. Do you hear what's at the core of it, right? He's recognizing that you're here in service, and he's helping you in real time prove a point
Yes.
that this, by sticking to that, these gifts just flow. And
Wow,
we've learned that in our
thank
lives,
you.
right? Our
Yes.
family. How blessed is our family?
Very.
I mean, it's an incredible
yes.
life that
you never have to approach life from a point of view of lacking anything. You approach it with the assumption that there's natural abundance around you every day, and that the things that you need are going to come to you as long as you stick to your principles, right?
I want to comment on this, because that's at the core of everything that's wrong with our world, is that those who don't get that,
Yeah.
those are the ones who feel like they need to create control.
Right.
Right, because there's not enough. So I need to stop others from getting what
Totally.
I need. Everything is based, every war, everything is on this assumption of scarcity. There's not enough. And, and we're overpopulated, when the truth is we occupy 2% of 27% possible land, here, but suddenly, there's a narrative that it's there's too many people and there's not enough resources, and it's all a big scam.
Right. And think about it, even if you're driven by greed and you're always trying to collect dollars, you know why it's never enough? Because they don't even hold their value. It's always leaking away because of the money printing. So the dollars are slipping away. Whereas what I just handed you, that's got physical gold in it. Wow. That's eternal. That's on the table of elements. It's God's cosmos created those elements. Wow. They will never go away, right? They will always have value. So also, here's something I'll just share this with you, if you don't mind. I
just want to say, as his agent who gets 90% of everything, I thank you, Mike.
Dang it.
I wouldn't do that.
I'll just steal one of these.
If you think about, like, for example, today, we are living in our world under energy scarcity because of these current conflicts. And like, there's never enough energy, not enough for the power grid, not enough oil, not enough gas, whatever. What I notice is that when you build solar systems and you use that solar energy to power things, that solar energy comes from the sun in the sky directly to you, directly to the thing you're using it for, which could be AI GPUs on your computer to make films, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or it could be to charge a car that you're driving, an EV. But none of that goes to the government. You don't need their permission. You don't pay tax. And every time you wake up and the sun comes up, you have a feeling of abundance. I'm getting energy for free. The sun is up. That's an attitude of abundance, not scarcity. It flips the script big time.
I love that. Yeah, it's like the attitude of like, we get to live another day. I get to live on this planet and spend time with my family, spend time with my friends, go out and do things. Like, that's the greatest gift ever.
Absolutely. It's amazing that you realize this at such a young age. I mean, how? My goodness.
When the world gets me down, I just spend some time with this guy.
I know. When I was still trying to figure out Dungeons and Dragons. You know, it's like, should I be an elf or a half elf or what? You know, right? And you're like making films.
Thank you.
I also understand you're a speed cuber, like I am.
Yes.
So we share this nice,
It's beautiful.
fun, common habit thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be a lot better than I am now, but still.
Well, that's so cool that you're into speed cubing.
Thank you.
I rarely meet people who are into speed cubing.
Me too.
And I bet you don't meet people as old as I am who are cubers. Like
Never.
That's never.
First person, so thank you for that.
Well, miracles occur. Like,
Yeah.
All right. Back to your film. Now, what would you consider a success? Is it how many people watch it, or the feedback that you get, or is it just the feeling that you get from creating it? What's
I
in
would
your mind?
say both of the first two. You know,
Okay.
how I want to know, obviously, how many people watch my film. That I would consider that a success, to know that it's getting out in the world. And then obviously, number two, how people are receiving this. You know, how I want to see how people have used this in their lives and how it inspired them, and really what kind of a difference it made. That's what I would consider success.
I like that. That seems like a good yardstick to use.
Thank you.
Okay. And then surely you have ideas on more films.
Of course I do. Yes.
You
I have
wouldn't
bit
be a
of
Willis
lineup,
if
but-
you didn't. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you must have a long queue of film projects.
Yeah, so my next film that I'm going to be working on, and I'll tease it a little bit here, is going to be on frequency and vibration.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Really.
Oh, I love this subject.
And really on how we're all connected. And I think the biggest thing is definitely how music is a tool, and how it right now it is being used as a weapon, and how that's affecting us.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, I'll pipe in here because there's a new form of music that's called funk, Phonk.
Funk.
Funk.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
And it's being used in other genres of music as well. As I does a lot of
Edits.
experimental edits. So I encouraged him. I said, just do stuff that doesn't matter. So he got an e-bike. He'll film a bunch of e-bikes and just that's how you really learn, because there's no rules. You're not worried, is it good or not? You're just experimenting. And that's when you really get outside the box. And so he made an edit a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Dad, you want to see my edit? And I said, sure. And I sat down, and the music was doing something to me that I didn't like. And I'm trying to enjoy my son's edit. And when it was over, he said, what do you think? And I said, I said, the editing is great, but good Lord, what is that music? Oh, it's kind of the latest thing, Dad, or whatever. And I said, but it's horribly produced. It's distorted. He goes, no, it's supposed to be.
Oh, really?
And I said, it's supposed to be so an older guy here going, no, that was the worst thing that could possibly happen, is a bad speaker in your car, or over like now they're intentionally over modulating and compressing this music.
Huh.
And a lot of the things that I've stumbled into have come from intuition, right? I feel it first, and I go, there's something there. My body is telling me there's something there to look into. And so I'm trying not to be the out of touch dad going, oh, that devil music, but I'm like, something's wrong. And they're like, Dad, you just don't get it. My other son and as I. And so it was really eating at me. And I go into my edit bay and I start doing a little bit of research. And sure enough, this whole thing comes up. And I called the boys. I said, come in here right now. I said, I'm onto something. I want you to consider this. And I said, there's an intentional, in the same way that he knows all about, like when the Rockefellers changed the standardization of music from, harmonious frequencies like 432 to 440, which became and that's more of a chaotic, dissonant kind of a frequency, all intentional to keep us, because music is so powerful and uniting.
Yeah.
That it was all designed to stop music from being medicine, kill the medicinal music. And so we started to look into it deeper. And what we learned, which I actually want you to explain, how it connects to truth.
Okay, so the new genre of music, the distortion that they use, is actually we looked this up, and it causes a fight or flight response in the brain. And what that does is that causes a lot of stress in the human body. And stress is like one of the main causes of like getting cancer, of like all these health problems that we're having, and especially stress causes like anxiety and depression that we're having, today. That could be the cause of so many things that have been going on. And so you were going into
How it connects,
yes.
what it's doing to truth.
So distorted music is intentionally disharmonious. They actually distort it to make it sound a lot louder. That's why they use distorted bass or distorted sound, so that it gives you kind of this like rush of adrenaline. That's why it puts you into fight or flight, right? Mm-hmm. It gives you like this rush, and that's why I used it in one of my edits, because it's like super exciting. Mm-hmm. But anyways, it's super disharmonious. It doesn't sound right. I used to think it sounded right, but after listening to it more, I realized I was like, this is not good for me to listen to at all. Anyways, it is intentionally disharmonious. And as human beings, all of us actually produce frequency with our voices, with just literally being here, because all atoms vibrate, and vibration causes frequency. And so all of us vibrate, and we're all literally connected through frequency. So when somebody lies, that kind of a frequency of them not telling the truth, them not actually being in line with their words, is disharmonious. So when you're constantly listening to a disharmonious frequency, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between harmony and disharmony. Mm-hmm. So when someone lies, it's going to sound natural and normal to you. Oh, that's probably right. If you're listening to stuff that is so disharmonious.
Yeah, that's his new film, which I think I'm fascinated to learn more about that. But it really turned out to be this. We believe that it's wiring. It's a thesis that we're working on right now, that it's wiring the next generation so that they cannot discern what truth is, because they're now told that distortion is proper, and so when they hear distortion in words, they go, "Okay, that must be real."
Wow. Because
truth resonates with the body as harmonious. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I might be able to contribute some concepts to your research on that.
Love that.
In 2016, I gave a speech at the Ty Bollinger Truth About Cancer. Well, I did a presentation.
Yeah.
My background is music production since I was a kid.
Wow.
So I have an 88 key keyboard that is actually mapped out to the table of elements scientifically based on the masses of the elements, from hydrogen up to much heavier like lead and so on. And what I found out is that if you take a molecule that, like vitamin C, which is made of nothing but hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, that's all that's in vitamin C, HCO. And you play out the HCO, you play it out, sounds harmonious.
Whoa.
You take like glyphosate, which has phosphorus in it, or something like a chlorinated compound, and you play that, and the chlorine is disharmonious. You can hear it instantly.
What?
Yeah, I could actually bring that keyboard here, and I could demonstrate this for you. Like maybe I'd be happy to do that if you're interested.
Would love that.
Love that, yeah.
But like what you can do is you go to, there's a website called chemspider.com. You can just type in any molecule name, any chemical name, and it gives you the atomic structure. You take that atomic structure, you just play it on the keyboard. You can hear it.
That's crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I called that elemonics, but I only did it one time, and people were always asking me to do it more, but it sounds like your film is going to go way deeper into the psyche, into the psychological impact of harmony versus disharmony. But it's also it's happening with molecules. You think about organophosphate pesticides. Why do they interfere with neurology? Why do they cause brain damage? Because they're neurologically disharmonious.
That's right.
That's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he plays piano, so this would be an amazing example in your film.
Right. So I could just even share with you just the mapping that I use, because you just take the inverse of the masses of the atomic elements, starting with hydrogen, the lightest, right? You take the inverse, you map them to the keys, and it's just a scientific mapping, but you have to bring it down a couple of octaves, and then you can play any molecule on the piano.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to do that.
Okay.
That's Crazy.
We have a movie that was premiered at the Beverly Hills Film Festival a few months ago, and it's about to come out on Apple TV, and it's called Code of Creation. And it's the gentleman who runs the company LifeWave, you know, the patches, the stem cell patches. Yeah, so David Schmidt, really incredible inventor. I think he's at 300 patents right now.
Wow.
And what he discovered, he had studied, this is in alignment with what you're talking about. He did cancer research for 20 years. And he was studying creatures that are essentially immortal, lobsters and ants. And he found within the lobster sera, within the blood of the lobster, 3 particular codes. And then later he was decoding biblical text, and he was using gematria. And he ran into a number from the verse in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And he decoded that and recognized the number and went back 20 years and realized it lines up perfectly with the code within lobster blood. And so he developed a light-infused water system, a machine that would attempting to infuse these codes into water so we could revitalize the light within our system.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's also part of, and I think that's what inspired Shine also, because he's gone to a couple of the premieres of Shine and learned from that movie. We get into the fact that we have biophotonic light within our cells.
Oh, yeah.
You know, our body, we are beings of light.
Oh, yeah.
And we are in a period right now where the shadow, my metaphor is this. I work with, as a filmmaker, work with 3D art. And what's the difference between the old-fashioned 2D art and 3D art? Shadow. And that's what makes 3D believable, realistic, is depth, shadow. And my metaphor for what's going on in our world right now is we're in the third dimensional reality, so there's always going to be elements of shadow, but the shadow is trying to consume the entire image. And so I had said in this film, when that happens, it's time, our response to that is to shine brighter. And I think that's what inspired the title of your film and some of the subjects.
It is. The darker it gets, the brighter we must shine. That's the main line.
I love that. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You know, here's something else for your next film on frequencies.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you know, light, it's all frequencies. Matter is just it's just a standing wave of energy, right? So we are all energy. But if you look at a piano, you said you play the piano.
Yes.
Let's say that someone sits down, you know, a master pianist and performs, you know, an amazing Mozart piece or something. And the audience is amazed, and the emotion is moving through everybody, and like the sense of that music is coming through. And then there's a Western scientist that comes over after, shows, I'm going to find out where the music came from. And they start disassembling the piano. And they take it apart. They take the strings out, they take the wood out, they take the black keys and the white keys and separate them out. And then they take a microscope and they look at the black keys and the white keys, and they're looking at the wood grain, and like, we can't find the music. No matter how far they look, how deep they go, they can never find the music because it's not in the matter.
Profound.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So the Western reductionism approach to vibration, to music, which is really the same. It's the same theme as your current film, Shine. It's about being yourself, your own music, right?
Yeah.
That can never be reduced to the particulate matter and the proteins and the atomic structure.
That's right. It's why so many scientists, too, which makes you very unique as a scientist, are atheists, because they're like, I can't measure God.
Right.
I can't see it under a microscope.
That's true, yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Right. But they also can't see music.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Or love.
That's right.
Or any of these things.
The most important elements.
Well, I've got a treat for you then. After this talk here, we'll take a little walk. I'm gonna show you under a microscope the power of vibration. It'll just take a few minutes, but it's an amazing thing. I'm gonna show you about, you talk about structured water.
Yeah.
I create structured crystals, which is just xylitol. It's just a sugar. Xylitol freezes at room temperature. So you can melt it and you can freeze it, and when it freezes, it paints images. So I'll show you a little bit of that.
Okay.
After
Awesome.
this talk.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's pretty
Thank
wild.
you.
Love it.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I apologize. I invited you here to talk about your film, and then we've gone into all these other tangents.
No, it's
is
great.
perfect.
It's great. Yeah, I love it.
But I want to give you an opportunity to
Okay, yeah.
also just, is there anything else you want to add about your film?
My film?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that I'm very glad that I'm able to be here with you and that you're, showing my film here in front of all these people. I'm sorry, you're playing the film, right?
We're playing the preview
The preview
of the film.
Okay, sorry. The preview of the film,
I
promoting
mean-
my film.
Of course, I mean, with your permission, we would post your full film.
Yes. You have
Okay.
it.
Yes.
But I mean, just for this interview, we're just going to we're going to add the preview.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
But we'll post your film separately.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Once it's okay to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay,
That'd be amazing. Yeah, so I just wanted to thank you so much for letting me be able to be here and really speak about my film and just to get it out there, And
Oh, you are so welcome.
thank you so much. It just means a lot.
I'm honored to have you both here.
Thank you. Always great to be here.
I honor your work and also to think about you're 15. You've got decades of amazing projects yet to come.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what you're going to do with this.
Well, there's a quote, it's a very, very famous quote, the quote where, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? And I really, really love that quote because the truth is there's no better time than now. And that is something that I really need to learn myself too when it comes to doing chores because I procrastinate a lot. And that's something that I think we should all take on in our lives, because if not now, then when? Because we always say, we'll do it later, it's not the right time. The truth is there will never be a right time except now.
That's true.
You just have to make it
true.
work.
Yeah. Love it.
That is so true. A lot of wisdom here.
These old men agree.
let me share something else with both of you. Yesterday, I got my hands on this new AI video generation model, Minimax H3.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Just came out.
Yeah.
And Azai, you probably don't know, but I run a mini data center. So I've got like 48 workstations and they all have GPUs, and I use it for these other projects I'm working on. But I dedicated one of them to video generation on this Minimax model last night. I'm just playing with it last night. Here's what's crazy. You're going to love this, Mickey. This model understands cinematography instructions.
Ooh.
So let me just be specific here. So I gave it a reference image of a straight shot of a guy sitting at a desk.
Yeah.
Just a straight shot, right? And I said 0 to 5 seconds, have the guy talking, and here's what he says, and here's a voice reference wave file, and it nailed the voice. I mean, it was perfect. And then I said, in the prompt, I said 5 to 10 seconds, give me a side shot of the same guy at the desk with a slow zoom in. But I didn't give it a reference image of the side shot. It interpolated that. It gave me the side shot.
Wow.
And it looked like it's perfect. It's the guy from the side. The AI engine made up the background and everything that was consistent with the rest of the studio. It was like, holy cow.
Oh my God.
You realize what that opens up for filmmaking?
Yeah.
Well, as a matter of fact, the film that we recently interviewed you for,
Yeah.
as you were filmed on green screen, our intention, because we've done 50 some interviews we go to Japan next, China, all over the world. And we couldn't find incredible locations in all these places. And there were a lot of bigwigs who were like, you're going to have to film me. I have 30 minutes and that's it. And so we're like, we can't come and light up a cathedral or put them in these extraordinary locations. So we did everyone on green screen. Mm-hmm. What would be cool is to cut your interview and to test it to see how it replaces the backgrounds with a live action person. I would love to test that.
Nice.
Hey, if you get me like a little clip of what you have of me, I'd be happy to, or of anybody. I mean, I'd be happy to test it on that.
Okay.
But my point is that this is an open source model. Open source, run locally. Where, if you use a cloud-based AI model like Seed Dance, you've used Seed Dance, maybe you played with it?
Mm-hmm.
It will refuse you on a lot of things.
It does, yes.
Like, I want Tom Cruise fighting Godzilla, and it's like, I can't do Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
And not that I'm saying that that's what this is for, but all of us, we are talking about subjects that are sometimes sensitive to the powers that be, especially you, Mickey, with the pandemic films. You want to have full creative freedom to be able to render the videos or the backgrounds that you want without refusals and guardrails.
Yes.
This model does what you want.
I just directed my first hybrid music video. For Deepak, who's done all of our music on the Pandemic series, and for about $3,000, we made his video that'll be released next week.
That's it?
And
wow,
we had to go. We used seed dance, and we really have to learn how to prompt. That's the magic.
Absolutely,
you really have to learn. And we did our first round where we're like, it looks good, looks like AI. And then we went back and said, let's go one shot at a time. Now that we've gotten better 3 months later, and let's re-prompt them. And so now we have this music video with people all over the world and doing things that would have cost us $500,000 to do.
Absolutely.
And so there's like the purist, and I get it, because in a lot of ways I'm a purist with, I like the human-made stuff, but it's like, if the goal is to make something that's impactful, and you have a grand vision, and we're not in the sellout world where they're going to give us $1 million to produce it. Because if we were on the dark side and we're going to forward their narratives, we'd have all the money we need to actually travel all over.
Right.
But because we're in the outcast side of things, we don't have the budgets that Hollywood has.
That's right.
And so now we have this ability. It's still human-made music. There's still live performances in it. But now when we want to actually see, a bombed-out place in the Middle East come back to full life and bloom and beauty again, it takes 10 minutes.
Right. Not the higher whole CGI
and it's so believable. And now we can have, for me, I look at it like, well, there's a line to draw between, don't be so, because I remember I was in the music business when digital came out, and everyone was so upset. Analog is the pure way to go. But then you can't, really deny the fact that the digital sounds better. It's clearer, and you can do multiple copies and never lose generations. Audio. You can't beat
24-bit audio.
Yeah. Right. And so we finally surrendered to that, and I think people are going to surrender to realizing, again, use it as a tool.
Or wait, 32-bit is the new
is what we're using now. Exactly.
You have this range,
total range,
this gain range. That's just. Yeah.
But the point is like, if we're making projects to move the needle and advance our world in a positive direction, and if AI can assist us to make that story that much more impactful, that it actually does move the needle, I welcome it.
Use the tools. Yeah. Because you, the human, it's your heart and mind that are directing the tools.
That's right. That's right.
As long as it's an inspired, creative human being that's running the tools, I'm right there with you. I'm going to use every tool that's available. I'm going to use all the best technology today.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, because I have a positive intention for humanity.
That's right. Yeah. If that helps us achieve that goal,
that's right.
Then that's the upside of technology.
That's right. Because you can bet that the anti-humanists and the transhumanists, they're going to use that tech to try to deceive people.
That's right.
So the only way to fight that is like in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Before your time, the Terminator 2 movie, but Terminator 2, they captured a Terminator, right, and reprogrammed it to protect John Connor. So we have to use the enemy's technology, so to speak, but we reprogram it for the pro-human point of view.
That's a great metaphor, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Love that movie, by the way.
You've seen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. I named my laptop Sarah Connor, and not everybody got that. They're like, "Who's Sarah Connor?" Like, you're kidding, right? Come on, it's Sarah, because it's an uncensored AI laptop. It's got a GPU in it.
Oh, cool.
And I'm running an uncensored Quen on it, so I called it Sarah Connor. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. I want to thank you both for your time, and I just want to ask you: is there anything else you want to add to this conversation before we wrap it up?
Oh boy, I echo Azai's gratitude. Thank you for having us on. Thank you for your continued friendship through all these years. You've been a really good friend.
You too.
And I appreciate. I think I've acknowledged you once before, but I won't stop. I feel like people like you that are pioneers of the truth movement who laid yourself out there long before I was doing the work, have paved the way to allow me to do the work that I'm doing right now. So I've always had that, really that deep appreciation for the sacrifices and the courage that you had early on. And so it's always a wonderful thing to come full circle with you and continue this journey together. So thank you for everything you've done, Mike.
Well, thank you, Mickey.
Yeah.
That means a lot to hear that. And I'm really touched by that. And I honor your courage. And I really, really welcome Azai's contributions. And I imagine Zuri is next with his project
He's next.
coming up.
He's got 1 year. What we do is we say, play all the way until you hit your teens. And then you got to get serious about what you're going to do now. So he's 12.
That makes sense.
And he's about to turn 13, and he's got several months before that. And so I said, awesome, play away, but at 13, we're going to start talking.
Very cool. I love that. And the website for everybody is MickeyWillis.com.
M-I-K-K-I.
And it's spelled M-I-K-K-I, right? So
right.
MickeyWillis.com. And what else can they find there at your site?
All the Plandemic films are at Plandemic.com, and they're everything I've put out in the last 6 years are free. So it's all there.
And do you want to give any hints about any upcoming things that you might be releasing?
Sure. So the film that you're in is we're doing a film really studying the origins and the trajectory of cryptocurrency and the ideas. And we just learned with this latest breach, hack, theft thing that happened last week, that it's very likely that Bitcoin isn't as safe as everyone thinks it is. And so we're looking at how to protect that, how to stop these technologies from corralling us into digital IDs and digital slavery.
Yeah.
So we have a big series that we're doing on that. And then we're doing, we do a lot of lawfare films. So the film that's right behind you, Free Joby on the screen back there, a lot of the people that are being persecuted by the federal government for Joby's crime was he was a Bitcoin miner and he was getting a lot of people free.
I've interviewed Joby.
What's that? You have?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I know Joby, yeah.
Roger Ver, we helped get free.
We helped with Roger.
Yeah,
time.
beautiful. Yeah. And so we're doing a lot of lawfare cases, and that is really satisfying for me because as we talked about the impact, that's something we can measure. We are they free or not? And so we worked on the Tina Peters case. She just recently got freed, which is amazing. I don't know if you've had her on your show yet, but she's got a lot to say. Some beautiful.
Yeah, my producers reached out to Tina.
Wonderful.
Because we we interviewed her before she was incarcerated.
Right.
So
I just had her on my little show, and so we have several films in production right now. I think we have 5 total that are in production.
Wow.
A movie called Bad Medicine, which has been on the back burner for 3 years. It's been very difficult because it's one of the most important narratives, which is what actually happened in the hospitals during COVID. And we just came full circle with that.
The incentives for the ventilator fatalities.
It's remdesivir and ventilators. It's the 1-2 punch. And so I have a book coming out called Bad Medicine in October, and the movie comes out at the same time. It's going to premiere at the Santa Monica, at the Malibu Film Festival.
Okay.
A lot of stuff going on, but just keep in touch with us. Sign up for the email on either one of those sites, Plandemic or MickeyWillis.com, and that's where we keep everyone informed.
Okay. And you're also always welcome, and you don't have to drive out here. We could do a Zoom when you launch a film.
Sure.
You want to come on, help publicize it, talk about it.
Awesome.
We would love to help advocate for the Bad Medicine film.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Azai. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
I'm super thrilled that you're a speed cuber. We're going to have to do some of that off camera. And then I want to show you the microscope thing. If you still have to, are you doing okay on time?
We're doing just fine.
Okay, let's do that. And I'll just say to the audience, thank you all for watching here today. You can find more video interviews at brightvideos.com. And of course, Mickey Willis's website is MickeyWillis.com, spelled M-I-K-K-I. So check it out, and thank you all for watching today, and God bless you all. Be well. Take care.
Stock up on the long-term storable Ranger Bucket Set. 536 servings of clean organic superfoods for your survival pantry. Certified organic and lab-tested for purity. Order now at healthrangerstore.com.